I'm Michelle Claire. I'm with Volunteers of America, Florida, and we're a national organization. And our organization started back in the 1800s by Maud Booth, who did street ministry in the prisons and on the streets. So our organization is founded in helping others, whether they're in jail, whether they're not. In Brevard County, our focus is on veterans. Now, I can give you some statistics. Over the last year, we've served over 285 veterans, providing housing and all kinds of services. Of those 250, 75% of them had a record. Of that, 10% were sex offenders. So right now, my passion is working with those sex offenders, not just for work, but housing. Housing is very limited, and I'm working with Susan Kowalski, in the reentry task force, just for the records. But we've had some very good success with our homeless veterans reintegration program and getting some of our veterans with records jobs, and I would like Victoria to talk about that a little bit. She's our program specialist and our job developer.
Hi, I'm Victoria. Work with HVRP, which is an acronym for the Homeless Veterans Reintegration Program. And so we're looking to really connect with employers that are willing to hire these ex-offenders. We recently, just this week, got a couple in of guys that they're fresh out, 3 weeks, 2 weeks. And so being new to it, I'm so excited. To me, this is a divine appointment, this meeting, because today I was just researching how can we get these guys in. So I'm blessed to be here, and we're doing our best to get them employment and help them any way that we can. And letting employers know as well the benefits to hiring those that have been incarcerated.
Thank you.
Sure. Susan, you want to talk about REACH or?
My name is Susan Kowalski. I'm the chair of the Brevard Reentry Task Force. We were formed in March of 2014. We are a subcommittee of the Brevard Homeless Coalition. We came about because previously I was a probation officer. I currently work in the state prison system. And we understand the need for coordination. I think the number one factor what I see now is the lack of stable, affordable housing. So housing first is definitely a priority for the reentry task force. Employment, education is key as well. We focus on a lot of career skills, a lot of building of skills for inmates being released. I work at prison off of the beach line. We have about 33,000 inmates who are admitted to the state prison, with 33,000 or so that are released. So Brevard County is number 10 on releases for the state of Florida. So out of 67 counties, we're number 10. We usually have 800 to 900 inmates that are released every year. Many of them are homeless, are unemployed, and I see them on a daily basis. So this is very important, it's very needed, and we need to work at working together and collaborating. Case management is key. A lot of the inmates I see, the average TAPE test in the state prison average is 6th and 7th grade level. So we need to help build skills. That's why we focus on education. We've worked a lot with adult ed, Eastern Florida State, career source. So we've got a lot of collaborations. We just need to work build those collaborations and make them stronger. So, our next meeting, I can send it to Kevin. We have our meetings every quarter. Our next meeting is December 6th. It's a Wednesday from 2 to 4. And everybody's invited.
Awesome, thank you. And Ken, you want to talk about Career Source?
Sure. My name is Ken Perkins. I'm a recruiter with Career Source Brevard. I specialize in engineering recruiting and aviation and aerospace. However, I get a rare opportunity to help organizations like Jobs Network. Thanks for looking out for me, Kevin. There's you talk about the benefits of hiring somebody with a record. As an employer, there are some benefits to hiring somebody with a record. One, you're doing the right thing by the community. But the other is everybody familiar with the term work opportunity tax credit? Okay, there are work opportunity tax credits out there for hiring ex-offenders. For ex-offenders, there's also a federal bonding program. Whereas if you have an employer that's willing to hire you, that employer can actually hook up with Career Source and see one of our staffing specialists. And they can do the paperwork, and what that is that's a federal grant ensuring that that ex-offender is not going to harm that employer at all. So there are some programs out there to try and help get ex-offenders back into the workforce. So if you have questions for the employers that are in here or anybody else that's in here, if you have any questions, all you need to do is go by one of the career centers. We have one in Titusville, one in Rockledge, and one in Palm Bay, and talk to one of the greeters, and they'll hook you up with a staffing specialist that's actually an employment security representative that's actually trained in that program. You're also more than welcome to hit me up on Jobs Network and ask me any questions. That's what I do.
And then Ken, how do you help people who have records now? When they come in to Career Source,
Yeah.
what do they do? What's the process?
Well, the process is they'll come into a career center, they'll see a greeter, they'll ask some questions. The greeter will do a quick evaluation on what services might be needed. They'll be referred, if they're not registered with Employ Florida, they'll be referred to a workforce services specialist who will help them get registered, and we'll determine what services are from there. One of the biggest things, you need to be work ready. For anybody who's coming out of the system, you need to be work ready as quickly as possible. And by work ready, that means you need to have a piece of paper that has some skills on there. And sometimes that takes some creative thinking, and that's where we come in. So, work ready.
Do you help with resumes?
Absolutely, that's what I'm talking about.
Okay.
Resumes it's not my favorite thing in the world. But it's just the nature of the BC stage. You've got to have a resume.
Right.
And
And then you mentioned the community, hiring them helps the community. Explain why that is true.
Well, it's the right thing. Trying to put this politically correct.
That's why I asked you.
I don't want to hurt anybody's feelings, and I don't want to make anybody look bad. Look, the rate of, if people who find jobs and get back into society and are earning a living, the rate of recidivism is a lot lower.
That's right.
Is a lot lower. So it's about getting people out of the system and keeping them out of the system. And for employers, that's doing the right thing by the community.
So less crime.
Less crime. Exactly.
It's good for our community.
Yep, absolutely.
Thanks, Ken. Any questions for Ken about Career Source?
If y'all are looking for a job, come see me. Actually, come see him.
What was your name again?
Eric.
You are Eric. Okay, that's what I thought. Eric, you want to talk about?
Good evening, everybody. My name is Eric Hudson. I'm with a staffing agency called JMI. It's actually Yahoo Management. Our corporate headquarters is in Lutz, Florida, but we do have a site here that we work with. I'm happy to be here. And as far as recruiting go, we do hire those with backgrounds. Our company as a whole, we will hire anybody with a background. When it comes to staffing, you got to realize we can't place everybody at certain locations because the clients do dictate who comes in and out of their facilities. But as a whole, we will hire you. We will try to find you something. So that's the benefits of probably going to a staffing company, because you're allowed, maybe you can't get in through the corporate side, but they will allow contract workers to come in because of the bonding and the other programs that are out there. And hopefully if things work out right, it will bring you on later as a corporate employee for certain organizations that you recruit for.
And what are some of the employers you represent or jobs that you're looking for
Well,
now?
in this area, we have a recycling plant in the West Cocoa area that we currently staff. We take, I would say, 99% of all backgrounds. All right. There are a few that will come up and I have to send over to the corporate office because that's what the client wants. But I will tell you, if you're looking for a job, come see me. All right. I'm always looking. Recycling is not a easy industry to get into. If you ever think about it, waste management, you see those trucks on the road every day, all right? 4 o'clock in the morning, that's probably one person out driving. It's waste management. So that's an industry that runs easily 8 to 10 hours a day, 7 days a week, and it's not easy. Everybody can't do it. So with that, you know, it is a high turnover industry.
What are some other jobs that you have going besides that, or is that the only one right now?
That's the only thing in this county
Okay.
that we deal with right now. That's the only one. There are some success stories with that, and Ken knows a couple of the people that have been there.
That's
We had a guy. I'm not gonna use his name because he's not here to let me use his name. But we have a guy. You know, young guy came out of prison and learned recycling. Right. He went from a guy that stood on the line, actually worked on the back of the truck, if I remember correctly. Worked on the back of the truck I call it chasing the trucks. You know, you go out and see the trucks come out and the guys running behind it trying to dump all the cans, and the drivers in the air conditioning saying, hurry up. All right, this guy was in the back, running out there chasing that truck, doing this every day. Went from that to inside of a recycling plant. Went from inside of a recycling plant, learning how to recycle to become the plant manager.
Amen.
All right, so he went from little dollars to big dollars in a year and a half.
$8 an hour to 62 a year.
All right. So every industry may not be sexy, may not be cool, it may not be fun, but again, if you're trying to get back in the community, you want to change your life, you want to do those things, opportunities are there, you just got to think outside the box of what industry you're going to get into.
It's encouraging.
Appreciate your attitude, love it. Thank you. Andrea, you want to talk a little bit about GEDs and advice, or now is this just going to be advice, or are you involved with?
So
Okay.
I previously worked for programs to the Department of Juvenile Justice and a lot of different organizations. They actually switched over and I worked with the juvenile probation part of it. So I did have teams up to 22. We worked a lot with their records, things like that, but getting them in school and education is so important. I know the career centers have programs too, and they took over. I think a lot of shifting happened. Since then, now I'm actually teaching at an alternative high school. So again, a lot of my kids are involved with law enforcement. We keep up to 22 in the high school, so we have had students that at 17, 18, they've gone away to prison for a year, and we try to encourage them to come back to school. We're an alternative school, we deal with the behavioral issues, and if you can get a GED or a high school diploma, that's huge, 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 huge. Like I tell a lot of the kids that come out and say, I just need a job. Well, no, you need to get this high school diploma. After 22, the opportunities, the funding, the assistance for getting a GED starts to greatly decline. So I work a lot with young people, and then just a lot of community connections I have, and through the church, through friends, that if you have young people, you know, I try to just share resources and just encourage them. If they have not gotten a high school diploma or a GED, that's step one, especially if you're under 22. It does create more challenges.
He was afraid to introduce himself and say where he worked and things like that, and it irritated me to hear that. I understood his position, and I understand the public. I see both sides, but I wrote that post out of frustration for guys like that there's so many success stories out there, but they're just afraid to talk about it. And so that post is a success story that encourages people with a record. So if you haven't heard about Jay, make sure you go to that post. And I'm talking to you watching this video. So we're going to share. Lori's going to share what Jobs Network New Beginnings, whatever she wants to talk about, a little bit about that.
Jobs Network New Beginnings is a Facebook page where we invite people with records. We invite employers that hire people with records. It's a closed group because some people don't want to be out there. And what our intention is to find people that are struggling to get a job and take that person and work with them. And I need people to help me with that. I can't do it alone. So anybody wanting to join, please let me know. It's slowly growing, but we are getting a lot of people into the group. And we're trying to weed out the ones that aren't there for the purpose of what it's there for the hiring of the records and we're also doing other things. We found out there's prisoners that need Bibles and reading glasses, so we've got one of the admin working on that. So anything in the housing, that's a big thing. We have a post asking people if you know people that hire felons or will let them live there, please put it on this post because they're crying. That's really sad. So we're there. My passion is helping others, and those with records just struggle a whole lot more than the other person, so.
That's good.
Thank you.
Thanks for sharing.
Hey, Kevin, let me know. I can talk.
We're getting there.
He's ready.
About 8:31.
Counting.
So we're moving on to intros of employers with a record who hire those with a record. Do we have any employers here that have a record that want to share that? Other than you know who? Stand up, Mr. Doug. Give them a little, speak whatever you feel the Lord wants you to share.
My name's Doug Green. I own Cocoa Beach Plumbing. Born and raised in Merritt, Iowa. Came from the broken home like a lot of people relate to, and kind of went south when I was a very young man, the age of 12 years old. Left home at 14 years old. You know, the whole drug scene for several years, and I ended up in prison for getting busted with a big load of drugs on Merritt Island. And at that time, I gave my heart to the Lord before I went to prison. And I know if you put God first, all things shall be added unto you, bottom line. I still feel to this day, 34 years later, I'm a walking miracle. My parents, to this day, still think I'm a walking miracle. They gave up hope on me. I left home. They never seen me for years. Kind of got lost. And I can only encourage anybody that's ever gone through anything that God will see a way. I am a second chance person. I was given a second chance, and I also hire people. I believe in second chances. Everybody makes mistakes. Doesn't matter what mistake it is. God spoke to me when I was in the road prison. And he told me one day, because I didn't have an education, I'm not book smart at all. But God spoke to me one day and said, you're going to be somebody. And from that day on, I put my best foot forward. And I've worked hard every day. I still do. I also prayed a little prayer before, because I finally got bold to ask God for something, because all I could keep saying is forgive me. Because of my guilt and shame. What I did to my family, friends, whatever. I asked God one day, maybe I could have a nice Christian wife, maybe a couple children one day. Well, to tell you, I've got my 13th grandchild on the way. I have 5 daughters. I've been blessed. I mean, more than I could ever imagine in my life.
What you asked for.
Exactly. I asked for a couple children. I got 5. But what I want to say is to encourage everybody, and y'all are in very serious organizations that are reaching out. I've sat on the board with Good News Jail and Prison Ministry, and been very involved with several ministries, but I can only say that there is hope for everyone. We were all born with the same heart. Some of us just made bad choices and decisions. What we've done with our heart. Well, and so all I can speak to is that I love to see someone walk through my door, to know that they've had a rough road. For me to have the opportunity to be able to share hope with them and say, it is possible. Here's all I need you to do. I've got young men that came in as teenagers. One of them has now become a son-in-law that holds a master's plumbing license for the state of Florida, who will succeed and own my company in the next 3 years. I've got another son-in-law who came to me who is an illegal alien, heading to prison with a record already, definitely going to prison, and came into my home for the first time, and I had a little talk with him. It wasn't a good talk, but it was a talk. I want to tell you, he's the finest father, plumber. He runs my granite shop. He cuts stone. He installs it every day. He's got 2 children. Very successful young man. Now he's fighting the DACA program that just got suspended. He's married legally. He has his own mortgage. He owns his own house. And he might get deported. I don't know. But you know, I believe God's going to make a way for him no matter what. So I just want to share a word of hope, especially for you folks. I mean, really in the trenches with these organizations that are really reaching out trying to help veterans. I mean, my passion is to see people come from the bottom and rise up.
Amen.
I mean, I believe in it. And I'm a product of it. And there's nothing impossible in anybody's life. And that's how I don't mean to preach a sermon, man. It's my passion, though. And I've been just again overwhelmed and blessed abundantly. You know, I've just to this day I probably still work 14, 16-hour days, but oh well, that's good. God made me that way, wired me that way. I'm okay with it. And so again, I used to speak in prisons and jails and in public school system and to students, and we've been very involved with Mark Merrill. I don't know if any of you are familiar with Mark Merrill. He spoke, and we believe now that it's time to start reaching students before they get to jail and prison. We want to help the people that have been there to rise up, be productive people, be successful. And success is what this gentleman said. Hey, I was raised on the end of a shovel out in the hot sun, digging trenches and laying pipe. My father owned a plumbing company when I was a kid growing up. And he knew Doug had a lot of energy and too much energy, and Doug needed to be out in the trench digging ditches with him. But as I tell people, you know, you can be one of the best ditch diggers and be successful. I need a good ditch digger. I need a hard worker. That's success. It doesn't matter what you do in life. Success is peace. Is peace. Satisfaction. Knowing who you are every day. But anyhow, I will stop here because I could go on all night with my passion about seeing people that are down be raised up to be a new creation in God's image, and that's success to me. Anyhow, God bless you.
Any other employers want to talk? We already talked to the recruiter here, Mr. Eric. Any other employers? And moving on to any other employers who maybe don't have a record that want to talk, feel free. If not, we'll move on to testimonies from guests with a record. So, is anybody who has a record now that, or then, that has had success in their life since they've had a record, especially surrounding work, relationships, like Doug was mentioning? Anybody want to share that? Go ahead, Michael.
My name is Michael Page, and I do have a record. A lot of people that I heard when I was in prison talked about, oh, you don't know about my life. Oh, you know, my life was so rough. You know, I grew up with 2 alcoholic parents. My dad did work hard. He did take care of his family, but he was an alcoholic. And, you know, me, you know, I became an alcoholic too. My life wasn't easy. I lived on the streets many, many years. And eventually I ended up going to prison in 1991. And I didn't get out until 2012. I spent 21 years in prison. while I was in prison, God got a hold of me, and He said, "Are you ready? Are you ready for me?" And finally I said, "Yeah, I'm ready for you." I'm allowed to start crying because, you know, I can't believe the blessings that God's given me. He let me out of prison about 3 months early, which surprised me. And they sent me down here to Cocoa, and I stayed in a motel in Cocoa for a month. And it was paid for me. I didn't know anybody, so I was on my own. I went out and did odd jobs. Finally got me a job doing telemarketing, which that didn't work out well because I don't talk well on the phone. Then I got me a job working for a car wash, and I did that for a while. I ended up running a mobile detailing business for a guy. That ended up going south. So I ended up going down to concrete company down in Palm Bay, Leo's Concrete, and I already knew that, you know, he would hire people with a record. And I went down there March 2014, and I started doing concrete work. I went on to the prep crew, I went on to the block crew. Now I'm working for Dumpstar, which is a branch of Leo's Concrete. As a driver and a cleaner, I clean porta johns for a living now. I drive around by myself all over the county. I now have a beautiful wife. We own our own home. I started out when I got out of prison walking. And a friend bought me a bicycle and I was bicycling. Then another friend of mine looked at me and he told me, he says, "I got this old Saturn here. If you can get the tag and title on it, it's yours." So I drove that around for a while. Now I'm driving a 2006 F-150. I believe that God has blessed me, and I believe that God will bless anybody who puts their faith and their trust in Him. I'm not perfect. I probably never will be until I stand before my Lord and Savior Jesus Christ. But until then, He's going to keep working with me. My passion, as I was telling Susan, is to be able to go back into the prisons and talk to the guys and tell them, you know, it can work. You can do it. Since I've been out of prison since 2012, February 10th would be 6 years that I've been out. Statistics said I wouldn't make it 6 months. Since I've been out, I've been unemployed maybe a total of 3 weeks because I had to drive and I had my Lord Savior Jesus Christ to help me. And if I can share anything with anybody, you know, it's just not to just believe in God, but believe in yourself. And tell yourself, you know, I'm not a nobody. I'm a somebody, and I can do this. I believe God still has work for me to do, and whatever work He has for me to do in the future, I'm more than willing to do whatever He has for me. Thank you.
Any other testimonies?
I guess I can share mine, why not? So, my name's Harlan. I was 22 and I was arrested with probably the biggest black mark you can get put on you by society. I knew I didn't deserve what was going on. I won't really talk about too much what happened. I was able to get out from under everything. I'm a felon, but I damn sure didn't get the biggest black mark you could have. You know, it was stupid. I was living a fast life. I was 22 years old, making almost $90,000 a year, so I just didn't know what to do with myself because I could do whatever I wanted. You know, I spent a year in prison. I went to a prison where I was maximum security, and everybody there worked on a farm. When I got there, I told them I'm too smart to work on a farm. I taught GED. I was first person in the penal system to get somebody a GED under Common Core. I got out, I did a year, got out. I've had a couple of hiccups because I'm a felon finding jobs in a workforce where I'm very good at. So that just tells you, you know, even though you have a record, if you're really good at something, it can still hold you back in today's world. And, you know, I work for Kevin now. I'm the sales manager for him at his business. You know, and like I said, it's tough, you know, going from, you know, I was young, I was in prison at 23, 24, you know, to get out, and I'm married with a kid now, you know, so I consider myself an upstanding citizen. You know, I hate to use that word, but it fits. And, you know, I found God in prison. You know, I was religious before that point, but never really to the point where I really gave it much thought. You know, I always knew there was something there, but, you know, and he helped me. He brought me out all of that. You know, when they told me I'm looking at 99 years plus 99 years plus 25 years plus 25 years, and I beat all of it. You know, so, you know, I was investigated by the FBI. You know, it was a big deal, and I was able to, you know, stand fast. He kept telling me, don't listen, don't let them get in your head. You know, just you know you didn't do what they're telling you did, and don't let anybody tell you otherwise. And you know, so it just went on, and you know, I'm here now. I've been out of prison almost 3 years. You know, January will make 3 years. And I've been blessed by Kevin. You know, I've been blessed by a bunch of people in the community, and you know, it's great to see people here that are helping people, because when I was in prison, I was trying to help people that had been in for 20. I was in maximum security prison, so I was in there with people that they had life with parole, so they just didn't know if they'd ever make it out. And I was trying to teach them, you know, just the basics to make it, you know, resumes, stuff like that. So it's always been in my heart. I've been with Jobs Network from the beginning, since almost the beginning, you know, off and on to some capacity. And, you know, it's a blessing when you can see somebody that's been in for 20 years and they can come right out and hit the ground running. Or when somebody, you know, is struggling, you know, when they get out, to have somebody grab them by the shoulders and say, listen, it's going to be okay. This is what we're going to do. We're going to help you. We're going to do this. Because, you know, a lot of the people that go to prison and come out, they don't have anybody. You know, you lose a lot of that when you go in. When you get in trouble, you know, my biggest thing that I always learned was your past doesn't define your future. You know, you may make mistakes, you may do things, they may tell you you'll never amount to nothing, but I'm telling you it can happen. And you know, I've done pretty decent for myself since then, and I've seen people that have, you know, and I just want to say thanks to everybody for having us here and having me here, and I appreciate it.
Alright, I just want to say something that I'm really inspired by everyone's stories. I actually don't have any felonies, but I do have misdemeanors, and I've been in county, but they're misdemeanors that I'm having a really hard time getting a job with because they're drug charges, DUIs, paraphernalias,